welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I am your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn how to overcome adversity, depict fact versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Today we have a very special guest on. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hey, how's it going, Anthony?
For those that may or may not know, just full disclosure, I actually used to work for Mike. So I am very excited to do this episode, kind of dive into the nitty gritty of what he does, and then talk all about health and spirituality and kind of see where it goes from there. So first, tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. My name is Michael Tucci, and I own Energy, Health, and Fitness. And I started this back in 2003 when I was a young buck, straight out of college. Came into the fitness space out of a passion. It's not what I went to school for or anything, just something that I felt I really loved. I was actually a mechanical engineer, believe it or not.
Mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
That's a jump.
It's a little bit of a jump. You know, I guess I felt like I didn't want to be tied down to, an office job necessarily. Yeah. Love people, love health, love trying to help people to grow in their lives, healthy on the inside and on the outside.
What made you want to transition from that? Because that's very interesting. Why did you go from, hey, I'm going to school for mechanical engineering to, hey, let me open a gym?
Yeah. I mean, I was into fitness as, from a very young age. I have 3 older brothers, and they were into sports and fitness and stuff. They used to beat me up quite a bit, as most older brothers do.
Of course.
So I had to get ready. I had to stand my ground, So I got into working out at an early age, and like most teenagers, it's about vanity mostly at that time. So I got into it big time. I really started to appreciate the benefits for my body, mental and stuff like that. Anyway, long story short is I kind of just decided I wanted to take a swing at something that I was really in love with, that I was passionate about. So I bought a gym that wasn't doing so great right out of college, and figured what better time to take a swing at something than when you're 22 with no responsibilities in life.
So was Energy that gym you bought, or was it something else that you changed over?
Yeah, it was another gym that we changed over to Energy.
Okay.
It was an interesting, like, Greek Athenian themed gym.
Thor Fitness.
It's called Milo's, actually.
What was it called?
Milo's.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's over in St. James.
St. James. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to change the name, and what was that inspiration to start Energy as a brand?
Yeah. So I grew up in a pretty religious household. Roman Catholic is the religion that my parents brought into our lives. And, I got into spirituality, I would say more so than the religious side, but really started to appreciate, the journey that we're all on, the journey of our souls being part of this one universe, this one energy in life. And, that's kind of where we decided that, myself, my brother, and my best friend, decided that, we really wanted to go on this journey of, helping to elevate people's energy in their life, both from a physical standpoint and from a mental and spiritual standpoint.
So how would someone go about kind of going into that spiritual or that mental aspect of fitness? We know about the physical benefits, it's pretty well known, but how does that correlate into, let's say, even spirituality?
Right. I mean, first of all, I think it's the central part of all of us, our being, So I would say, step one is you got to be open-minded, open-hearted. You got to be willing to see beyond the physical, stuff in your life and feel beyond that, and really pay attention to, I would say what your spirit and your soul are trying to communicate to us. So what does that mean? I would say, you have to set aside time and energy in your life, just like you do for physical well-being, right? To get a good workout, you got to set time aside, you got to have a plan, and you got to execute. same thing on a spiritual side. You know, you can't just expect that it happens. You put time aside in your life and you say, you carve out space, you carve out time, you know, allot a period of, you know, your journey to trying to move forward on that path of, you know, the spiritual energy in your life. So, you know, I have practices in my day, in my life that I really have carved out and made habits in my life.
What are those practices like? Just give us a little understanding of it.
Yeah. So let's say first thing in the morning, I wake up. Now it's around 6. It used to be earlier, as I'm sure you're aware of.
Nah,
in the
don't
gym
miss
business.
those times at all.
I mean, 6 feels late to me now, but 6 o'clock, I get up, I get down. My family. So I'll just rewind a second. I have a beautiful wife of almost 17 years.
Awesome. Congrats.
I have a beautiful daughter, about 13 and a half now.
Wow.
So right at the cusp, those fun teenage years with the
Can't
daughter.
wait.
And I have a son that is 1 and 2 months old. 1 year and 2 months old.
Oh my gosh.
So fun, crazy, amazing, beautiful journey at home. But I do have to be extra aware of how do I continue on my spiritual journey. So 6 o'clock, I'm up. My wife's getting ready she's a teacher, for school. My daughter's getting ready for school. I carve out 6 o'clock to about 6:30. I try to get a half hour of time in a special place in my house where I do some praying, some meditating, some focusing of my energy. I always center most of that energy in gratitude. So I really try to just start my day with, you know, every little thing that I can bring into my consciousness about what I'm grateful for that day.
I want to talk about that morning ritual a little bit because I think this is something really important not a lot of people grasp. Typical American, you're waking up in the morning, you're like, where's my cell phone? You're scrolling through emails, you're scrolling with Facebook, and you kind of wake up all because you just saw some things you didn't want a part of your life and you're not really focusing. And I think that's important, is waking up, having an understanding of what you want to accomplish in your day and how you want to feel on the inside will help you do better throughout the day and help you stay more focused.
100%.
So even if it's not, let's say you're not religious or you're not praying, it's the same thing as it would be waking up and maybe just doing some breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Focusing on that mindfulness. I really like that you said that. It really helps people feel better and live better throughout their lives. But keep going.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And listen, I think, one of the challenges a lot of people have with the whole spiritual side of, life in general or the religion, right? The religious, there's a lot of negative connotation that is tied to some of that stuff. So people kind of shy away from that. That's why I often think about it and speak about it in terms of your energy in life, because what the goal is to focus your energy, right? Focus your energy on the things that are going to elevate your energy and elevate other people's energy in their life. So it's really just like you said, it's whatever, it doesn't matter what you call it. You wake up in the morning and you want to have a purposeful day, a day full of purpose, right? So a day full of purpose means you got to have a focused, way that you plan, that you want to go about how you live your day. Now, it doesn't mean that I plan out. I'm not a big planner, actually. That's the kind of funny thing.
Full disclosure, same.
Yeah. I'm more of a go with the flow type of guy. I have to do some planning, as you know, owning a business and trying to run things. But I also am very much like, whatever the day brings and whatever, I say whatever God or brings into my day, that I'm going to be ready to bring my energy, my passion, my love, who I am into that. But it's so important that you, and believe me, I am not perfect at this at all. In fact, there's many mornings I get up, I always hit the coffee, the start on the coffee button.
Extra large every morning.
Extra
it's
large.
1 cup if it's 24 ounces,
That's
right?
correct. 1 cup. We talked about this. Yeah. That's correct. So, and then, the temptation, the phone it's a challenge. That's a big challenge, right? You really can't. So I have what I would say a tool, right? I have a book that is, it's a religious, spiritual book called Jesus Calling, and it's got a daily devotional. I'm not a big reader, so I lose interest sometimes if it's too much. This is great. It's a short, one devotional, one page. I try to be as focused as I can on, what it's bringing to light for me that day. And, the temptation to not look at the phone is tremendous. You have to avoid it because like you said, there's already things that are, obstacles that are going to distract you right out the gate if you don't purposely put them to the side.
Being purposeful in the sense that for myself, I don't sleep with my phone. And a lot of people think that's weird. Like 9 o'clock, my phone goes in another room. I don't care how many times it goes off. I'm not looking at it. I'm not answering. And I won't even look at it until after I get ready for the day the next day.
Yeah.
And they go, well, you own a business. What if your gym's burning down? It burned down.
All right, I got insurance.
I'll figure it out. There's nothing that should prioritize more than your own personal health. I think that's something we've talked about a lot here. It's prioritizing yourself. And that really begins with that early morning. Even if it's 6 a.m., 7, it doesn't matter. When you wake up, having an understanding of this is what I want to be purposeful with my day.
Yeah.
Talk about how that helps with stressors throughout your day, because that's another thing people really don't talk about. If you're taking that half an hour in the morning, how does that help you? Let's say 3 p.m., you have a stressful situation coming in. Yeah. How would that help you manage that?
I mean, like anything else in life, right? It's front of mind now. So I took what might have been pushed to the back of my mind, which is my journey for the day, my gratitude and my heart and then, my awareness. It's front of mind now. So what happens is when stressors, enter my day, which of course they do every single day, and some, much larger than others, I still have front of mind my journey and my purpose and my calling and, my gratitude. And that really, it's like a balance, it's like a balance scale, one of the scales that, if the stressor was super heavy and I had nothing on the other side to balance it, I would be completely out of whack. And that happens to a lot of people and it affects you mentally, physically. And I've had this happen to me. And you go through, a period of where you're not healthy because you're not balanced. So it already puts the weight on the right side of the scale, so to speak, so that when the stresses come, it's just going to balance it out.
Yeah. I think that's important to understand, is having that balance through it. I think this pandemic is the best thing to show those that are taking it to, like, letting it destroy them internally by having anxiety build up throughout it. They're at a loss because they never balance themselves.
Yeah.
As opposed to those that are used to exercising or having discipline or understanding to take time for themselves, have been able to handle it at least mentally and emotionally better.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you, I think one of the big fallacies that a lot of people buy into is that they think that at some point later, whether it be later in the day or later in the week or later in the month or later in the year, that they'll balance it out eventually. So they think, it's okay. I'm out of whack right now. I'm out of balance. I'll later this week, I'm going to get my exercise, or later this month, I'm going to start my diet, or later this year, I'm going to start my, I can't right now because the stressors are, really piled on right now. If you think differently and you say, let me pile on the other side of the scale right now, and let me really try to load up on the things that I know are going to balance me out in my life with those stressors. And you start your day with some exercise, some breathing, some, all that stuff. You already preloaded. It's like a preload, right? You preloaded for the day.
Pre-workout right there.
Pre-workout. That's your pre-workout. So I think that more people have to kind of shift the mentality to, what do I have to do to be ready for the load that's going to come my way, the stress load,
Yeah, and that's your morning. What about afternoon, night? Is there anything you do in particular throughout the day or maybe at the end of the day? Just talk us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. During the day, I was actually just talking to my wife about this morning. I have little habits that always give me the opportunity to reconnect. I say reconnect with that center, the central point in my, the love, the spirit, the heart, whatever you want to call it, your soul's journey, your purpose, all that stuff, right? I don't know. I guess I'm going to say it on air here, but like one of them is when I go to the bathroom.
Of course.
I drink a lot of fluids throughout the day, right? I drink a lot of water. I carry a nice big jug of water to make sure I'm staying hydrated. As you know, you have to offset the coffee, right?
That's why I have a gallon and a half a day.
That's right. That's right. So with that, I'm sure you know that you're going to be making a lot of visits, right?
Yeah, you do.
But every time I go, instead of letting my mind race on about whatever it is I was thinking about, I actually take that moment to go back to a prayer / meditation / and I have, a couple that are my go-tos, I would say, right? So like, that's at least probably like 8 to 10 times a day that
Awesome.
throughout the day that I'm finding a moment to breathe and center and come back to my true self, I would call it.
I like that.
That's during the day.
I like that a lot. It's something to help you refocus. I mean, I feel like for a lot of people, it's that showering time.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who take 20, 30-minute showers, not because they're sitting there scrubbing themselves, but
Yeah.
they're letting their brain kind of drift and relax and kind of bring themselves down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, also combined with some of the nice feeling of relaxation that comes with, doing something that takes the stress out of your body.
And
Yeah.
the perk of that you're not bringing your phone into the shower.
Yeah.
That's a perk. I want everyone to,
I have a
I said
waterproof phone, so I
Oh, no.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. That doesn't happen.
What about end of the day before you go to bed?
All right. So I've really prioritized being home, by a certain time to really 5:30-ish is my goal. I'm always home close there, 5:30, 6 o'clock. And that's just family time, ready to be present with my daughter, my son, my wife, which connects you to, the meaning of your life again. Yeah. So I take that time and that I actually really get recharged. As soon as I come home, I feel recharged, It's, to me, that is, I look forward to getting into my home, with my family, even though there's craziness. My daughter right now, the journey with school is crazy. I do a couple hours of homework a night with her. And then into really the evening hours, then I find a little bit of my own time. I read. I don't read a lot, but I have books that that I try to really help me to continue down the journey of understanding how to be in the present moment. That's one of the focus points in my
I want to talk about something you said. I'm going to rewind a little bit. I don't think you realized the impact it had, but you said be present.
Yeah.
That's huge. There's so many of us that just go throughout our day, and then by the end of the day, we're like, what happened today?
Yeah.
And we kind of feel like we didn't get that bonding with significant other or bonding with your family because you were never focused, you're never there.
Yeah.
So it's when you walk into a home, like I'm sure, like you said, you feel recharged because the second you break that barrier into your home, hey, this is family time.
Yep.
So everything else doesn't matter and gets pushed along to the side. I'll figure it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's really impactful and something people should take home with them. It's, hey, be present in the situation, understand where you are, and then you'll be able to tackle that a lot better and feel better about yourself.
100%. I mean, if there's anything in life that I feel, we have to work on, as a, I don't know if you want to say as a species, as a race, I definitely, especially now, and I can't speak for how human beings were prior to all this technology, but now it's harder than ever, to really not be distracted, distraction and, feeling constantly pulled towards wanting to see something, text something. I don't do a lot of social media. That's another thing. I just find that for me, it pulls me kind of too far a lot of times outside of my focal point, and it's not a bad thing, but I was thinking about it actually. I was actually thinking about it today on the way here. I was thinking about why do I stink so bad at social media? Because I don't really, every time I feel like I I go on, I get distracted and like distracted by other people's journey and there's some good there, definitely. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of it feels like, you're constantly like seeing what other people are doing and they're, I don't want to say, but like I feel like sometimes it becomes more of a thing of,
Envy.
pride, envy, jealousy, those things, right? And those are things I try to minimize in my journey. So for me, it's hard to minimize when I go on and I'm like, oh, what do they got? Oh man, especially business wise, it's hard. You're balancing, trying to see what's going on around you as you're trying to adapt and stay relevant and viable and move your company forward, but then also run your own race and stop and don't try to, compete with the others in a sense.
There's a mindset to that, which is something I kind of take home, and maybe this can help other people. But social media to me is work time. Social media isn't play. It's not.
Oh yeah. No relaxation. It's not relaxation.
It's work time.
Right.
I'm going with intention onto social media to make sure I can promote myself, promote my business as my job, as opposed to just something I want to do for fun.
Yeah.
I will say though, on the flip side, I'm not perfect. No one is.
Yep.
You're fighting against a $1 billion company that pays people millions of dollars to suck you in, to put time into it.
Yeah.
That's Facebook's job, is to make sure you spend more time on the network.
Yeah.
So it is a very, very challenging, hard battle. So even if it's, hey, I scrolled for 55 minutes instead of an hour, that's still a victory.
Yeah.
And kind of focus on just those little tiny things that you're taking home, or just that mindset change where it's, this is where I work. So when I'm with my family, I can put my phone away.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
And listen, if your heart is really, again, centered and focused on the people around you, you'll feel the nudge, like my wife or my daughter or my son, when they need me, and I have to pull myself out of whatever caught my attention and say, all right, that's not where I need to be right now, and you have to have the discipline to say, nope, I'm not going to look at that. I'm not going to answer that. I'm not, just like you said with the phone, at night, that's discipline. You have a discipline that you've put into your life and said, I don't want to be tempted even to be distracted at a time that I shouldn't be. So that's discipline. That's great.
To me, it's sleep. It's not the family aspect.
But
it's all about sleep.
That's a part of your journey of taking care of yourself. Yeah.
It's all about, which I don't want to go into a side tangent about it, but the blue light from electronics that stimulates our eyes, makes us think we're awake, and then we're getting less quality sleep.
Yeah.
So now not only am I screwing up that home time, now I'm screwing up the next day, where maybe my mind will just be a million places. I feel like I didn't sleep, then I go for more coffee. So what am I really doing? Fighting this downward spiral. Yeah. It's about bringing yourself back and kind of focusing on where to go.
Now, I will say, I do have a crutch at night. And I often rely on this, and I shouldn't. I throw on the History Vault app, and I watch an episode of the History Channel. It's still blue light. I don't know if it counts. Does it count?
It totally counts, but it's okay.
But it puts me to sleep. I feel like it works to help me to actually go to sleep.
A lot of people think that, but what they showed is that you're straining your eyes, so your eyes get tired.
Right.
That's why you feel like you want to go to sleep.
Right.
But you're not going to deep REM sleep.
Well, but let me say this: I don't watch. My wife sometimes, and I don't want to throw under the bus, but she watches like whatever Law and Order or Dateline, which I'm always like, how are you watching Dateline before you go to bed? What's the matter with you? Like, or
talk
like
a
show that definitely you're going to be more inclined to like want to see like what happened, the end. The history stuff, like it's not so tempting. Sometimes it's actually more like it's interesting, but then I can it kind of like helps me to say, I'm going to bed now, So but it is my crutch. That's my little crutch.
We all have it. Like I said, it's important to realize that you can't be perfect, but if you can take a little victory here and there, that's a win.
Yep, absolutely.
I want to break into, because this is the episode that's coming out right around Christmas, and I think it's important that we talk about spirituality in a sense with Christmas, but about helping others and how that affects our health. It's something people don't think about, but if I'm sure when you go and you help a neighbor shovel their driveway, because we're gonna get a lot of snow, so it's something on top of my mind.
Yeah.
Where you feel better about yourself because you helped someone else.
Right.
So talk to us a little about that, like some important things people can do to help themselves maybe during the stressful holiday season to kind of bring down some of that stress and give to others, which I think is the most important thing we can do.
Yeah. All right. So this is actually pretty interesting. I actually, on the way here, again, this is ironic.
I read your mind.
You read my mind. I was listening to a spiritual conversation with actually Matthew McConaughey, of all people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was on Joel Osteen's channel on XM. Anyway, he actually was talking about how he kind of redefined the word selfish, which was really interesting. Instead of it being what most of us, connote when you hear selfish, is that, you're taking time or energy or whatever and just focusing on your own well-being, or like, you're doing something actually that may hurt others by focusing too much on your own journey, or he said, like, lie, cheat, steal, selfish to get what you want. That's what most people, kind of the way people think about the word selfish. But he kind of redefined it and said, there you go. He redefined it and said that, what happens really is all these things that we do that actually foster a stronger, version of ourselves is really the most selfish thing in a good way, right? So all these things that we're talking about, like you said, when you take the time to, exercise, to, put yourself, first from a mental standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, take care of others is actually fits into that category, because it's really ultimately self-serving, right? Because the whole idea and what it does for me, and I think it's for all humankind, it takes us out of our bubble and our mind, and our focal point, which is normal, right, is usually in a little bubble. We go through most of our day in our own little world, where, and you have to survive, that's part of who we are, and we're getting through a day. But it's healthy to get outside of that bubble, because it loosens the chains of some of the things that really bind you, like the stress of, how am I going to get this done in my business? What happens if that happens? All that stuff, you break that for a little while, all of a sudden it doesn't have the same strength that it did, or the same effect that it did on you. And I'm sure many people have experienced it. A lot of times, a lot of people play sports or go lose their mind into something else, but helping others really helps you to get the same effect. You get outside of your own little bubble, outside of your own world, and when you come back to it, all of a sudden the things that you thought were so crazy important, or, may not have that same effect on you.
Little interesting where my mind's kind of going to. I took a year of philosophy because I was very intrigued by it. And that's actually a big philosophical point. Is helping others true altruism, or is it egocentric because you're taking care of yourself? You're going to help somebody because it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Not strictly for that person's purpose, but it's not for yourself, which is why you're helping them.
Right. But that's the ultimate paradox of life.
Exactly.
It's actually, that's the beautiful thing about this life, is that you can spend a good part of it out doing things for other human beings and serving yourself simultaneously, which is a beautiful, that's what it should be. If we are giving of ourselves and our energy and who we are the right way to the others around us, it actually is going to do the most, good in your own journey too. So
I'm going to quote a friend of mine who's going to give me a smile right now. The tide rises for all ships.
That's right.
Which I think is really important. Shout out to Rob.
Absolutely. Oh, hey. That's boy, Rob. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
So helping others grow, helping others succeed is ultimately going to come back to yourself and help you.
Yes.
It's understanding the balance of, you know what, let me help this person. It's going to make me feel better. It's going to make me be more purposeful with my health, but then also being a little selfish where it's, okay, let me go eat right, let me exercise, because that's for me.
Yeah.
But if you don't take care of you first,
You can't
how
help
can you
others.
take care of anyone else?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that tide rising, analogy is so true and so important for us to realize, not just in our smaller world, our smaller circle, but in the big picture. I always say, as a country, as a world, it's true. So you can't expect that your little group, and I think about like a tribe or something, we used to, and I don't want to get too far back, but in history, there used to be tribes, right? Right here on Long Island, a lot of Native American tribes, and then it grew into other groups, right? And we're group oriented. We want to belong to a group as human. That's human nature. But we have to continue to break outside of that and realize that when all are benefiting, when all are working together towards a common good, we're all getting better. We're all growing. We're all the tide is rising. All energy is elevating at that point. So I like to really try to, think about outside the bubble of my town, my home, my town, even my country and the world.
And I think that's why this is the most important to talk about this for
time.
this Christmas week, because I know it's not just me, but the second it becomes after Thanksgiving, my energy skyrockets, where I'm now thinking about how much I love Christmas because it's making me feel more empowered. I'm blasting Christmas music on the radio, and I feel better about myself because I know I'm going to be helping others. But we get lost where we think this is just about Christmas. I don't think it's just about Christmas. I think this is something we should always be doing. Think about that energy you have for the holidays, how much you can go. You go, and how much you get done if you did that every day of the year. If you got excited every day of the year. If you're purposeful about it over and over and over again.
And I think that circles right back to where we started, which is that you wake up, and when you focus your energy on what your soul purpose is, your soul's purpose, your center, your core, you have a lot more energy to give that day because you're coming from the right source, I would say. So think about the sun, being like the source of all energy in our lives, right? Actually, this was another thing I heard on the way here. Solar power, this was Matthew McConaughey. He's a pretty smart guy, actually. Yeah. And he was saying like solar power, is the beauty of it is that the energy never runs out, right? As long as the sun is shining, the energy doesn't run out. Whereas a battery, you got a shelf life or a life expectancy. And I think that's similar for us as human beings, right? If you're running off of the wrong energy in your day, of course you're going to feel, and that doesn't mean we don't get tired still physically. We're supposed to get tired and you're supposed to rest and rejuvenate. But you know what I mean when you get to burnout. Mental, physical, spiritual burnout.
It's putting diesel into an ethanol-fueled car.
Wrong fuel. You're right. Yeah, you just got to check. And it's happened to me a couple times in my journey too, where I've tapped myself out because I wasn't, really in that right energy, and I've had to recenter, refocus, and balance my scales again. And so that's kind of the whole journey.
And there's always blessings in life, which is kind of what I want to allude to at a final point, because to most, the pandemic it's horrible what people are going through. And don't get me wrong, but to me, I was working 16-hour days, not sleeping. I kept getting sick because of how much I was working. And having that reset button of everything being forcibly closed, it made me reevaluate my life. And now I feel better.
So you mean pre-COVID you were working like that?
Pre-COVID I was working crazy. And then post-COVID I learned how to adapt. I learned how to change. And I feel better than ever.
Yeah.
Because I've learned to take care of myself and put those silly stressors kind of off to the side.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm still here, kicking and breathing.
Yeah. No, listen, this was actually something that came up I'm in a roundtable group with a bunch of fitness club owners and stuff. They said, what is the pandemic taught you, right? I think at the end of the day, what this is supposed to do for a lot of us is to strip down, right? Strip us down to the more essential parts of our being and of our lives. And to I think every one of us, what happens is it's like collecting crap in your house, right? You just keep grabbing stuff, you keep pulling stuff in, and then you don't want to get rid of it, and your house gets cluttered, and it takes up energy in your life, and you don't, your mind is bogged down, your spirit's bogged down, everything physically. You need to cleanse, strip down, and get back to the core and the center of what's important in your life, right? And there's always obstacles and challenges are meant to help us to focus on where we're meant to grow in life. And I think this obstacle was a tremendous one for me personally, I'll say definitely. But I think a lot of people to get back to essential core of what makes people happy, what makes them feel a sense of purpose, and let go of some of the extras and some of the other things that were sucking energy out of their life.
Big one was family time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people said they kind of brought that back where they got to spend more time with their kids, watch them grow up, and it reevaluated those priorities. But just on a final note, give us some tips, advice that listeners can take home. They're finishing out the year in 2 weeks. So what's some advice you can give to people as we approach 2021?
Yeah. Well, my mind right away went to, people were kind of forced into changing their life, right? The last several months. Obviously, we're all excited to see a light at the end of this tunnel, with regards to the vaccine coming and life starting to normalize again. What I would suggest, and what I'm really thinking a lot about, focusing a lot of my energy on, is what habits am I instilling in my journey now through this to bring me, out of this in a place where I keep the things that are not meant to be in my journey. How are you going to do it when everything goes back to normal in life, right? How are you going to not be distracted again and not feel like you have to put more crap into your journey that you don't need? And I'm doing that also on a business level, by the way. Speaking of which, on our business, as there's been a lot of changes right now, and you have to find your focal point and your center again, and rebuild from the core. And a stronger foundation, strengthen the foundation of who you are, what you stand for, and the habits. A couple of habits. Don't make it too many, but a couple of small habits. Start your day off with, a little routine to center your energy. And I always recommend gratitude, coming back to gratitude as the first and foremost thing that gets you back into a positive and healthy mindset.
Absolutely love that. That's hit the nail on the head, as they would say. And thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, subscribe to our show and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Thanks so much for coming on, Mike.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Anthony.